Hello, everybody, and welcome to our private mastermind, getting secrets to making money on Zillow 2.0. This is a very important conversation that we're having here. And we have a special guest today, someone who has been working with Zillow, and that's Anthony Lopez. Anthony, are you with us?
Yeah, Mike, how are you?
I'm well. So I have a couple of questions for you. And again, thank you for being a part of today's mastermind. It was a really important topic. Hopefully you were able to get some value out of it as well. So let me ask you just a couple of questions here. It's really important here. So tell me a little bit about, first and foremost, how long you've been in real estate, and how many real estate portals or referral companies do you work with? Because a question that comes up all the time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I just started my third year in real estate. I started with you in January 2019 and currently working with 5 different portals, Zillow, OpCity, StreetEasy, HomeLight, and Trulia.
Got it. And, so walk me through the progression though, right? So when you first got started in the business, I know, I guess, tell us a little bit real quick about where you came from, just so we can get an understanding of how you approached this business, right? So in terms of working with inbound leads.
I came from the automotive industry, spent over 2 decades working for them. And when I transitioned over, it was, it was difficult in the beginning, because you're really starting a new industry. You don't know where to go really with it. So when I first got the internet leads, I saw it as opportunity. I mean, we're in a business where you eat what you kill. So if the more opportunities, the more leads you work with, the better it is for you to make money and to be successful in this business.
Absolutely. Now, so let's walk through, because so many agents become frustrated with this aspect of the business. And why? Because it does take patience, it takes tenacity. So tell us a little bit about that experience so far, and why you're so successful on the platform. How do you deal with patience? What is your follow-up system? Share a little bit about what you do to be successful in these platforms.
This is all about follow-up. Everything you're doing with these leads are follow-up. If you just get the lead, you talk to the person once and you just let it go and hope they'll buy a house from you, or they'll call you one day when they're ready to buy, it's not going to work like that. Most of the leads and people you talk to, it may not go anywhere, but it's the smaller percentage that'll make it to the closing table and get you paid. So you really got to have patience. You got to know how to follow up with people. And you got to just communicate with them, because that's how everyone's looking for. When somebody clicks a button, whether it's a Zillow lead or from another source, they're looking for help. And a lot of them are first-time home buyers, and you got to be empathetic to what they're going through and what they're looking for. A lot of them own a home, and you realize you get a listing out of the deal too, because they're just clicking around looking to buy a new home, but they haven't even put their other house in the market yet. So it's really about walking them through the whole process, right from telling them, okay, let's start from the beginning. Let's kind of check ourselves, and okay, we got to get your house listed first and then get into contract. Then we can look, and you start walking them through and just constantly communicate with them. That's the secret.
I like how you said, consistency and follow-up. Tell me a little bit about that. So I understand that consistency follow-up is important. Saying and doing is two things. What are ways that you manage that business, right? What are ways in which you're able to consistently follow up? Are you using a CRM? Are you using the portal CRM? Are you using it all? Share a little bit about what you do to follow up and stay in touch with your customers.
A lot of it is the platforms themselves, like Zillow has a great follow-up system on the Premier Agent to follow up on the leads you get. You update it, you put notes in there. KV Core is a great tool to use. There's all your leads are put into there, and you can enter more leads, and you can sort of follow up automatically and set up a follow-up system for it. Same thing goes with the other platforms as well. They do have their own methods of following up, and I constantly put reminders in my calendar. And like, even if I know somebody, I know they're sort of on the fence and I need to give them a little time, I'll put a reminder 2-3 weeks, a month out, to call this person. Because if you don't put the reminder in there, you're never going to remember to call them, and that lead's just going to fall to the wayside. It's that person that you haven't talked to in a month that said, I need time, and you call them a month later and follow up. That's going to be the guy that, you may get the listing from, or he realizes that you're professional and you want to follow up with him. So he'll appreciate that.
Yeah. So, and we talked a little earlier about the long tail. What I mean by long tail is, these customers may not be ready to transact 30, 60, 90, or even 180 days out. Emotionally, how has that felt? How have we been able to build that tolerance and be patient? Because as we mentioned, the consumers, they're demanding, right? We're consumers here. We press a button, we want service. So sometimes consumers get upset, right? Because you're not following up as much as they expect, and they don't even know they're ready. So how have you dealt with it? Number one, emotionally, and number two, you mentioned KB Core. You mentioned that the apps have their follow-up systems. How many times are you following with these customers? And let's say the customer's a year and a half out from buying. What's the technique that you use to kind of nurture them through this process?
I'll use the nurture system in KV Core and just really kind of, if it's just a sort of set it and forget it type of thing, but I'll always still touch base with them live anyway. I mean, at least, even if they're not looking now, maybe even just once a month, just shoot them a text or pick up the phone and call them, and just say, hey, how you doing? Just checking in. Just want to let you know, market is hot, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes just make it a personal conversation. Just, hey, how you doing? Just, we know we talked. And the more you keep in touch with them, the more you establish a relationship with them in some sort, the more they're going to be inclined to work with you when they're ready at that point. And the people, there's a lot of them. It's when they're not ready, you can't just kick around. You can't keep kicking yourself. And if you spent 2 or 3 weeks showing them 15 houses, and then they realize, you know what, they're not ready to sell yet, or not ready to buy yet, and they need a little bit more time. Okay, you keep following up with them, but don't waste time on it. Move on to the next thing. Just keep on going. That's just what it comes down to. You can't just sit here kicking around and getting mad because you wasted, all this time showing them houses and it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So, and now as we wrap up this piece, what's your advice? What's your advice to any agent, number one, who's just getting started, and the naysayers, right? Oh, leads, that means I'm weak. I'm a weak agent. Leads, it's a cop out. These are some of the things I've heard over the years. What advice would you give people, the naysayers? What advice would you give someone that has been doing it for 6 to 12 months, whether they invest money themselves or not? What advice would you give them as well? So the naysayer, the new person, and someone who might be stuck, frustrated by growth in this. So what advice would you give them?
Well, definitely for the new person, I would tell them absolutely you need leads. That's the big thing that got me started in this business was the amazing lead program that you have at Remax Edge is what really kind of got me started and started me strong in my career. My first I think within 4 months after getting my license, I had 6 deals in contract. And a lot of them came from, company-based leads that I just followed up on and I stayed on them. I mean, every lead for a new agent, that's definitely the way in the door. I mean, if you're going to sit here, just, you don't even know where to start if you don't have the leads and you're brand new to the business. So just really kind of, work with a great company that has a great leads program and has a great team that can really keep you accountable to the leads and keep you going with them. So you do have some kind of accountability and structure built. To the agents that are doing it a while and they're getting frustrated with it, you got to look at yourself. You got to look at your processes. You got to look at your schedule and the way you're organizing yourself too. Because if the leads program are working for a lot of people and they're doing well and they're succeeding with it and you're not, you kind of got to self-reflect and look back and see what you could be doing differently in yourself to maybe make it work for you. Maybe, need to talk to Josephine or talk to somebody involved in the leads program and see what direction you could go into to make it more beneficial for you. And I mean, we all have the same amount of time every day. And if you're not productive enough with the leads, you may have to change something or just tweak something in your business plan and how you're doing things.
Awesome. And anything coming up for you from the the presentation today? Any aha moments? I know this is a curveball for you, but I'm just curious, what any ahas that you might have had?
I've definitely seen a lot with working with you since I started. And that, I will say honestly, that was probably the best thing I did in real estate was coming to work for you. And I do appreciate everything you've done. There's so much information and content that you've given us before. And some of it we've heard and some of it is more newer, but it's more to me, it's really just about the following up. It's really about realizing the opportunity that's there in these lead programs that is there, like especially like with Zillow's listen, you gotta, you're either riding the wave and you're gonna get ahead of it or you're gonna get crushed by it. It's just one of the two. So that's the one thing I learned from you is ride the wave, be ahead of the curve, so you don't end up under it, getting crushed by it at that point, because then your career is dead.
Nicely said. And, I really want to thank you for sharing in this private mastermind because, it's important for anybody who's thinking about doing this. We want to, again, embrace change, show people the pathway to profitability, and incorporating something like this into your business is going to increase your bottom line as well. So thank you for participating. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.
All right, guys, next up, we have someone who started from the beginning on this, and she's on here today because Anthony's a little more of a newer comer who had tremendous success, and Paulie at some point was also a newcomer who saw tremendous success, but now she's been with us for a minute or two. Paulie, how you doing? You there?
I'm good. Can you hear me now?
I hear you loud and clear. Yeah.
Okay.
One of these days, we're also going to merge all the technology together, and we're going to be transporting through to Mars. So thank you for sharing or wanting to participate with us today. So let's get started.
Okay.
About your history and how you got into the business and what has leads meant to you. So let's start with that first. Tell me a little bit about your business and how you got in. How long have you been in the real estate business, and how many real estate portals are you currently working with today?
Okay. So I got into the business about, I want to say about 4.5 years ago. I think I started with you when you were still with KW. And my business, well, obviously we started with Zillow. Zillow was the first one that with the leads program. I would have to say, like, I've been thinking about it a lot, during your presentation as well, right? Like, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now without the leads program. So I can get cocky sometimes and I can say, oh, well, the leads and whatever, everybody's got something to say, including myself. But the truth of the matter is that I wouldn't be where I'm at without those leads. Right. Because as a new person in the industry, that was the only way for me to, to create relationships, to grow my business, and, to start nurturing, those leads. Currently, I'm working with, I would say 5. I was trying to think about them this morning. So 5 different portals in terms of leads. And, I have to say that I guess Faig is on the call as well. I don't know if he's actively listening, but I'm sure he is. We got a chance to look at the numbers from last year, from leads alone, from the leads program alone, and I was actually blown away. I did not think it was that much. So I'm very, very grateful to the leads program. I will say something. You know, Years ago, I've heard about. I read the book, obviously. Who Moved My Cheese? That has stayed with me for like the longest time because I have to admit, like I will raise my right hand and say I am the mouse that wants the cheese to be exactly where it was before. I don't like chasing, right? But the truth is that the lessons I've learned taught me that there's no way of advancing anywhere in life, and it's not just real estate. It's just life in general. If you're not gonna sort of chase the technology, the just the way life moves, right? So whatever Anthony said, it's a wave, get on that wave, constantly try to improve yourself and keep an open mind. That was my aha moment with you today from just listening. And that has been the case from day one, right? I came in thinking I know everything, even though I obviously knew nothing. That's a shortcoming of mine, or not, depends on the situation. But I do keep an open mind today, right? I am willing to listen. I remain teachable, which I think is extremely important. And one of the things that I've learned, is that if I don't let go, there's like this phrase that says, let go or be dragged, right? If I don't let go of what I think I know, of where I want to continue to stay because that's my comfort zone, I'm going to get dragged, right? And at my age, getting dragged is really not fun. So, anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I am extremely grateful for for the Leads program and for the opportunity to actually grow my business.
Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. So now, what was your first impression though of working with internet leads? Because this is important for like a new person thinking
Mhm.
about. We're not new person in the business, just someone who is thinking about, well, should I add these internet lead sources to my portfolio? What was your first impression?
So it actually went a full circle, right? Just like everything else in life. So my first impression was like, oh my God, this is awesome, right? I'm being given those leads, right? That was like my very, very first impression. And then I went through that period of time where I thought, well, why would I take these leads? And it's those leads are no good. The people are not responsive. I have to, whatever the case may be, right? It's always easier to sort of point a finger and blame something else when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? I think that's just a human trait, right? And then I came full circle to actually just a couple of weeks ago, and that's what I said when I got to take a look at the numbers. Uh, that came from those leads. So I can honestly say, yes. I mean, the easiest thing, the cheapest thing is to get referrals, and that would be awesome if I got to the point that all of my business was referrals only. But at this point, that's not where it's at. Every lead that I get is a potential transaction, and not just one. In some cases, there are more than one, right? Um, and I need to make sure that I am consistent with what I do about those leads. Instead of just saying, "Oh my God, this is terrible. Zillow is terrible. Zillow," and I have these conversations with friends of mine who are in different states, right, that are completely against anything that has to do with it. And yet, when they see the success that Faig and I have, or anybody else in the industry, they're like, "Well, how did you do it? Like, where are you getting your leads from?" And the answer is simple. So,
Right.
yeah.
And that's what's interesting. And that was really, I'm sure you guys caught that earlier today. It was just to continue to raise awareness. And yeah, we spent a lot of time with Zillow, but it really was the open-mindedness of the industry as a whole is changing and evolving, and there's so much money to make change to help the consumer. And that's what I always, goes back to open-mindedness 2-3 years ago, and now we're here again because those that resist change, get disrupted. So good points you're making with your friends in other states. So what advice would you give though? We talked about this. What advice though would you give a naysayer or someone that's actually tried it and kind of the way you said you went full circle, but tried it, they gave up, they got back in, they gave up again. What would you say to that person today?
um, I I would say just keep at it. Do not dismiss it as something that's not worth it or not working. Yes, there are at certain times, not all of these leads are gonna, you know, um, just transform into a transaction. But if you work them, and if you, and again, I didn't know these things. These are things that I learned, with you guys, with Joe, with you. How do you consistently and productively work these leads, right? You'll be amazed at the results. So you know, it's okay to say, no, I'm not interested. But before
Right.
you do that, just give it your all. And if you're still not interested, that's fine. Like everybody has their own thing. But I would say just give it all you got and, just work those leads. They are, um, you know, they're a source of business. That's just the way it is. There's no two ways about it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Um, and what about an aha moment today for you? Any ahas, big takeaways?
Yeah, like I said, I heard Anthony say it as well. The ha moment was, I made the right choice joining Remax Edge, right? Because here's the thing, there are a lot of times, and you said that so many times during your presentation today, get angry. And I remember getting angry listening to you and in the back of my mind just saying, he's just making things sound like so much worse than they are, or he's just beautifying them, whatever it is, it all turned out to be 100% accurate, right? So if I follow my aha moment is keep an open mind, listen and learn, from my mentors and the people that make me, be who I am in the industry, because I didn't do it alone, right? And I wouldn't be able to continue to do this alone. So yeah, I think I'm going to stay here for like maybe a couple of more weeks.
Well, beautiful. That sounds like a good idea. Well, I appreciate
Miriam,
you staying for a couple more weeks. And thank you also for contributing today. It's important. We're on a mission here. And mission is embrace change, and quite frankly, I'm excited for options for consumers and how could we be able to be aligned with those options when it comes to market, when it comes full scale. I want to understand how could we get involved, because the ones that resist change and the ones that say that this is not going to work, I mean, quite frankly, they're back to that cab driver that provided that poor experience, ate their lunch, smelled the car up, blasted the music, and didn't even care about the consumer in the back. Um, we're
Mike,
not here for that. Yeah,
can I just say one more thing? It's funny that
sure,
you bring
please.
up the taxi industry. Prior to being in the insurance industry for 15 years, I was a loan officer for it's the League of Mutual Taxi Owners Federal Credit Union, and I worked for them for 12 years. So I know the taxi industry's like ins and outs, the way it was in like the late 80s and up to like the mid 90s. And what happened to them is exactly what you say. It was about the consumer satisfaction, and it wasn't there, and it was just all about what value they were able to get out of it, right? Whether it was the price of the medallion or whatever it was. And when things started changing, that's exactly what happened to them. So
Absolutely.
it's just weird, it was just funny that you brought the taxi industry into it.
It's because we've all, I think, especially New Yorkers, we've all experienced that. So Paulie, again, thank you so much for all of your contribution and again, your alignment with Remax
Thank
Ed.
you.
So thank you.
I
Thank you, Paul.
apologize. Thank you.
Don't worry. Thank you, Paulie. All right, next up we have Josephine, wrapping us up over here. Joe, you there?
I'm here.
All right. Now this, we saved the person's the OG, really the 9 years ago, when a little website called Zillow and Trulia came out. They were so little actually, that I personally didn't even know about them. A client told me about, hey, are you putting our listing up on Trulio, True? I can't even say the name, Mike. And I was like, oh, what? Well, wow. Yeah, I heard of that. But no, I never heard that website. And then there we go from there. So now 9 years later, we're here. So let's talk a little bit about your engagement, and now today with our leads company at Remax Edge, and you now being the leader of that company. Let's talk about, though, a little bit about the history of your involvement with leads. So tell us a little bit about that. And real quick, those that don't necessarily know you, I guess tell us how long you've been in real estate, and really how many portals are you working with, Joe? Tell us.
There's portals flying out of my ears. There's at least 5 main ones that we work with. There are a few others in process and play out there that we work with. We have CRMs, transaction management systems. I mean, you name it. There's so many things that come into this real estate business and keeping everything in order. And
Yeah. And so
moving.
when we got started though, how many really was there? Because, you weren't even at the leadership level yet. You started off as an
Oh,
assistant. So
two.
two.
Yeah, like
What
Zillow and
was your,
Trulia, really. And we had one CRM that, we were trying to make it work. And
we're trying to make it work. Yes. We're trying to make it work. And then we had the sheets, right? Sheets for
yeah, and paper
days.
and
Right,
pen.
right. So that's what, it's great to bring that back, because you know what, what's old is new and what's new is old. These things actually still work. It just depends on where you're at. So going back to that, now your experience though, because for a few years, actually, you dealt with the consumer. And interestingly enough, the consumer really truly didn't understand how we operated when somebody clicked on there. Tell us a
They
little bit
still
about what you
don't.
saw.
They didn't know then. They don't know now, and that's where we come in to try and give them the experience that they're looking for, whether it was before or today. So that is how I actually learned how to do real estate, is just by making calls, dealing with people, building relationships. One of the major things that I always tell people is that this is a relationship based business. So you need to just have a conversation with people, and talent will only take you so far. You need to work hard as well. So one of the things that I feel is a strength of mine is having a conversation with people. So that is what was good for me in the beginning, is because I learned through conversation. um, so I
Any
just talk
framework you could share with us? Like,
so I
so
talk to
the
everybody.
secrets, what's the framework? Did you have a
I really
framework?
just talk to everybody. I get to know
Yeah.
them. I ask them, even just if they bring something up, as, uh, they like, I'm a big Disney person. So if they say they have family in Florida, I always lead it back to Disney, because it's something that's relatable for me and I can talk about. If they talk about a dog, oh, what's the dog's name? Everything that you can relate back to them in some way. That's why it's important for people's biographies to have their, not only, I love being a real estate agent and I want to give you a smooth transaction, but this is about me. I like sports. I like this, because it's a relationships relatable business. So again, and just having and sincerely being interested in what they're telling you. So if they tell you that they want to move to this area because they love being near a park and the trees, and go, taking their dog at the dog park, oh wow, how long have you had the dog? What kind of dog do you have? It's, again, relationship. People
Now, when
like.
you're sharing this, Joe,
Mhm.
when is this conversation being had? Is this the initial call? Is it the later call? Like, because it sounds like
So
you're
the
using
so the
the
initial
Ford
call
technique.
is, for now, the initial call is, when do you want to see the property? Because, again, you guys have mentioned it before. This is all about instant gratification. You click the Amazon button, you want the package at your door. They click the button that they want to see a property, they want to go see it. So instant gratification is, you want to make the appointment with everyone. If you start attacking people, like, well, do you have a pre-approval? Where's your money? Like, and they, like, I only work with people that are pre-approved, and they don't even know sometimes what the process is of real estate, and that's what we're here for. Because the truth is, if real estate was easy, we wouldn't need real estate agents. And so it's our job to make sure that these people have the education, they know the process, and again, build the relationship. So the first call is, when do you want to see it? Are there any other properties that you want to see? Is this the first house that you've ever seen? Because then you can get their story. You find out, what is the motivation behind moving, or selling, or buying, or whatever. And again, it leaves, those open-ended questions, and then it brings you into their life. You need to make a connection. That's in any relationship, using the Ford acronym: family, occupation, recreation, dream, right? They teach that when you go on dates with people as well. Like, how do you have a conversation with someone? You use Ford. So people have to like you, know you, and trust you. And they're not going to do that if you're not having conversation with them and treating them the same way that every single other person out there is treating them. You have to be different. And that's how you set yourself apart.
Now, you've been around a lot of agents at this point. You're around. You assisted me, and now you're leading. Um, what do you, what's the difference between someone who is extremely profitable and successful in the business and not? Like, what would you say? One, no more than two things. What are those things that make somebody extremely successful and profitable?
So the first thing I'm going to say is follow up. Because what happens a lot of times is people will say, they'll get a great lead or they'll have a great conversation. And then what happens is they forget to follow up with the person. And then the next thing you know, they'll say, 6 months later, oh, you know what? I haven't called that person in a while. And I know this has happened to every single agent out there, including us. Oh, we have to reach out to, Susie the buyer, Susie the seller. And then you reach out to them and, oh, I'm sorry, I already listed my house. I already sold my house. I already bought a house. I'm in contract with a house. Or reaching out to your sphere of influence. So again, that follow-up piece, making sure that every single person knows that you're in real estate, because you need to be, and I always joke with everybody when I say this, you need to make sure that when people think about real estate, they think about you, so that your face is in their mind. And I always tell people this all the time. When anybody is, you know, thinking about calling their sphere of influence, or where do I start in the business? And I always suggest that for starting in the business is just tell people that you're in real estate. Tell every single person you know. It's funny because I was talking to one of the agents yesterday, actually, Anthony, he was on the call, and he had a great conversation with someone, and he told me, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell the person that I was in real estate. And he was like, that's the main thing that you have to do. And he made it his business to make sure that he went and gave his card to the person and told the person that he was in real estate. So that is one of the major things that, you know, we need to make sure that
We got to
happens.
make sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And what's a piece of advice though? I know it sounds like you gave a lot of advice here, but what's a piece of advice that you can give people? Because
The only piece of advice I could tell you is do not give up. Everybody talks about, how many wins somebody has, and they look at the success and they say, oh my God, this person is great. They have some sort of secret, right? There is no secret. The secret is not giving up, because when you give up, your next step could have been your win, right? They don't talk about how many baskets Michael Jordan missed. They don't talk about how many misses, baseball players have, or how many times somebody failed in order to get to the right, the right thing, the goal. So the truth is just don't give up. And that's not easy to say. So, or do, the motivation has to be there. You have to, it's like taking a shower. You got to do it every day, so you
for
have
some
to
people.
keep yourself motivated. You have to keep yourself, you have to keep yourself motivated. So,
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, Joe, people want to hear my experience and giving up. There have been several times where I wanted to give up in this business, even before I was able to generate seven figures annually. It was even that we had some, and I can't wait to share that story. But I want to give up so many times throughout my career, and I share. Some agents have already heard this story, but I remember being in a new construction project. The market was really, really bad at that point. Felt like I had to sell every listing 4 or 5 times. Checks were not coming in for months at a time, and I remember sitting in this cold stairwell with a flip phone, and just thinking. And I just talked to a friend of mine that worked at Con Edison. And I remember talking to him, and he was just in this warm trailer, enjoying a DVD movie, not a Netflix movie, enjoying a DVD movie with the guys inside the trailer. And I'm sitting in this freezing cold condo project, thinking like, these guys have a pension, retirement plan. It's crazy. I'm sitting here. What am I doing this all for? For all the same money? I just feel like giving up. I remember that so clear as day, because there's been plenty other times I wanted to give up, but I never forgot sitting in that stairwell because it was freezing. My hands were just they were white all over because it was chapped from the cold, and I said I just feel like maybe I should just give up. This guy's gonna get home at 4 o'clock. This is crazy. He's got everything he needs, and guess what? It just didn't stop. It made me more hungry because I could not give up. I felt like, you know what, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to serve my client, I'm going to sell these things, I'm going to help these people, I'm going to sell more of these things. I'm not going to stop. I'll sell it 10 more times if I have to, and I'm not going to give up, no matter, regardless of how I feel, because I know that I put so much into this, and I know I can serve the customer better than anybody else, any of my competition. If anybody was in that condo project, it's going to be me that's going to be able to sell that at top dollar. So I wanted to give up, and that's just one story.
I think agents almost want to give up on a daily basis because deals die. You have offers that don't get accepted, people that, you thought were loyal to you and go work with someone else. There's so many reasons, but again, that's where that motivation comes in. And you have to also be able to move on from things. And that's an art that needs to be learned, is that you have to just move on sometimes, and you can't get caught up in, like things happen, all right, this happened, the deal died. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm going to try my best to get the deal going. If I know that I did everything that I could have possibly done to save it and it still didn't happen, then so be it. Things happen. Right. 5-minute funeral. Thank you, Paulie. Exactly. Have your scream if you have to, do whatever you got to do, go cry in the bathroom, get it out, and just get back to the grind. So, yes, 100% 5-minute funeral.
Yeah, and Joe, as we wrap, because we just want to be respectful of everybody's time, any aha moments from the talk today? I know you've been heavily involved. You're very aware of all these topics, but any ahas that came out for you today?
I mean, the biggest thing that is always an aha for me is that you have to just be open-minded to go with the flow of things. Life is ever changing, and you have to just be adaptable and be open to changing yourself, which is not easy. So you have to be coachable, you have to be open-minded, and you're going to be successful if you let yourself adapt and learn consistently every day, because even the person that knows it all doesn't know it all. So that's my biggest aha.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. And,
welcome.
as we wrap over here, I just wanted to share, there was a question that someone said, hey, since about 90% of agents leave the business early, on what is the biggest piece of advice to not be in the 90% and caught in that revolving door? Well, I'm going to steal something first, and then I'm going to add to it. What Josephine said was, don't give up. We went back to the story that I shared before, because here's why. We're all entrepreneurs. And with entrepreneurship, unfortunately, one thing I wish I could change is how schools, right? So schools educate the agents who are getting into the business. The expectation, because when people come in, they do come in with an employee mindset. When I say employee mindset, again, that's not a bad thing. It's, you didn't know that you were coming in to this business as an entrepreneur. You didn't know that it was going to cost you money. You didn't know that you might not see a check for 10 months, and that's different than someone who's receiving a check bi-weekly. And that's really one of the things to prevent you from being one of the 90% is, number one, as Joe said, you can't give up, and you just have to know your numbers. And then also just think about this. What other things will you be doing, and will you be happy? What other things will you be doing, and will you be happy? Just like the person, personally for me, that person still works at Con Edison, and he's making into the 6 figures. Okay, but personally for me, I had big goals, big dreams, and I wanted to make 7 figures and beyond. Okay, that's where I wanted to be. And not everybody wants to be at 7 figures. That's okay. But to not become a victim is, I'll give you one more piece of advice here, is put some money away. And I'm not talking about the stock market, the 401k. I'm talking about put some money away to power your business. Because one of the things I've learned over the years is, if you don't have money to power your business, and you do have I make my check, I put it in my pocket, I spend it, and then we rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. You don't have money to drive your business, and then you will, right? And these, sometimes agents become frustrated. This is a good way to wrap. You will, great question, what's a baseline? You will be then just stuck on taking only lead opportunities and paying large referral fees. Okay, but if you have some money to drive your business, like capitalize on the money you've made off these referral platforms, investing into some of the things that I mentioned earlier today that could drive new leads to you, that's going to keep you ahead of the curve. So keep innovating, keep pushing, and that's going to help you. A good baseline number, Amanda asked, what's a baseline number to save? One thing, and again, I'm not a financial planner, one thing that I've used, and I forget exactly where I got the fact from, but it's around a 10 to 15% a number. to save. Why? Because that number, let's say if you made $50,000 the first year, and again, $5,000 to $7,500 a year would be something that you can invest into a marketing campaign, something that's going to generate you business, right? Marketing, and I get it, Facebook, Instagram, WeChat, those are great marketing tools. But unfortunately, guys, you get what you pay for. The good news is on social media that even the free piece, it works really well, but to get the big return on investment, you got to pay for it. So yeah, to answer your question, Amanda, again, I'm not a financial planner or a tax planner, and I usually advise people to speak to them because I don't know one's personal, mortgage, rent, and things like that. I personally believe it's around 10 to 15% to drive your business annually. Another question: Can you do business on, let's say, the West Coast as well? I'm not sure if that was directed towards me. Like, can I do business? But yeah, if we could just clear up that question so I got it. Yeah, in terms of West Coast, of course, each state has regulations on calls these days with cold calls. So yes, essentially, I've had friends of mine that have done business. You as an agent, yeah, I've had friends of mine that have done business on the West Coast. What they've done is they've generated lead opportunities and then gave those lead opportunities to agents in those markets. Now more than ever with video calls and Zoom meetings, not only can you just give a cold call to somebody, you can have a Zoom meeting with Sally, or rather Susie the seller in like California, while everyone's sleeping here in New York, and they get to know, like, and trust you. So maybe that referral fee that you personally were going to charge that agent could be more, because now you're actually having a deep-rooted conversation. Maybe you just really need a showing agent in that state. Again, but there are legalities with selling in other states, but there are plenty of opportunities now that the walls are down. Kimiko asked, but Zillow and the listing portals do not come from fear. Yes, absolutely. People are coming from fear. That's an aha moment. Also for me, every day I'm reminded of this. When you're coming from fear, that's one of the challenges. If people come from fear, you really are going to be hurt. So, right, Joe, what's one of the things I share with you all the time? What's something that, I tell you as not to be fear-based?
Oh, you can't be fear-based at all. I mean, people are just people, everyone is a human being. And I remember there was an agent that was terrified to make their first phone call. And, sometimes you just have to get over it and do it. And it becomes easier as time goes on. So when you're scared the most, that means you're doing it right, because you're doing new things, and nothing ever comes out of your comfort zone. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. So guys, we're going to wrap on that. Is don't be fear-based. Continue to embrace change. It's been an aha moment for me, and I really look forward to sharing more of these knowledge. If you like these masterminds, please like our page at The Edge in Real Estate. Like us on Facebook. And yeah, we're going to continue on with these in the next few weeks. We're going to launch another one as well. Again, I hope this is valuable to you as it was for me. So thank you very much, guys. All the best, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.